Welcome to the Sports Lounge with John McEachin, and we are back after another exciting week of the NCAA tournament. We have made it to the Sweet 16. Notre Dame has just beaten Wichita State, 81-70. That Cinderella run is over. Wisconsin right now on top of UNC, 68-64 with 2.5 minutes to play. That's right now, but by the time you hear this, games will be over. We'll also have the legendary Max Howell on the show today. That's always exciting. Former football coach for Ole Miss and Florida State, and also former radio host in Birmingham. Some interesting stuff going on. Obviously, you've got the NCAA tournament. Mississippi State has just hired a new basketball coach in Ben Howland, former UCLA coach. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Alabama, they're still looking for a head coach. We're talking about basketball. We're not talking about football. They have their head coach. And also, news has come out about Southern California getting messed over by the NCAA. We'll talk more about that and how awful the NCAA's infractions committee is. We'll get to that. So right now, Notre Dame has just defeated Wichita State. Wichita State's out. Notre Dame's going to the Elite Eight. Wisconsin, they're battling at 68-64. They're trying to get their team into the Elite Eight. We'll see what happens. I've got them in my Final Four. I think I actually have them in the finals, playing Kentucky. Gosh, my bracket is awful. It's terrible. I'll pull it up in just a second, but it is absolutely unbelievably horrible. I mean, they have killed my bracket, and they've had the funeral for it. At least I still have Kentucky in there, so I'm good to go on them. But on the first day, see, I had Iowa State going to the Final Four. Well, local team UAB ruins that for me. Thank you, UAB. Yeah, only to get knocked out in the second round. Actually, I really do want to say congratulations to UAB on having a good run. They were the 14 seed, knocked out the 3 seed Iowa State. And yeah, it also doesn't help that Villanova, one of my teams in the Final Four. Yeah, the right side of the bracket's just knocked out of the Final Four. Yeah, they're gone. So, thanks to those guys. So I have Kentucky playing Wisconsin in the Final Four game, and then Kentucky was supposed to play Villanova in the final. And that's not going to happen. But at least Kentucky's still in. I have Kentucky winning the whole thing. But yeah, Baylor lost to Georgia State. Yeah, that didn't help. I had Ole Miss winning against Xavier. The thing was, I had the winner of the 11 seed play-in game beating Xavier. Now, I was kind of thinking that was going to be BYU. So I was thinking BYU was going to play Xavier, and they were going to beat Xavier. But that didn't happen. Ole Miss took that spot. I'm glad they did. But then they failed to beat Xavier. I'm actually up to an 80% now, 80.5%. I'm like in the... Yeah, I'm ranked number 2,251,000th. Yeah, in the country on ESPN's tournament challenge. So, yeah, it's the same thing every year. Everybody's bracket gets busted. But anyway, so I'm a little nasally right now. Allergies have started to kick in. Now, I was just thinking, I was riding in the car yesterday, and I was thinking to myself, I've done pretty well this allergy season. Yeah, I haven't really had any problems. A few sneezes here and there, and I'm good to go. And I did this I did the 6-month honey thing that you take honey, like every day, a little teaspoon of honey, and, once a day, and it's supposed to act as kind of give you immunity to the allergies upcoming, and you did it for 6 months. I did it for about 5 months, because I kind of started late. But anyway, I thought, I think it's working. And then today comes, and it just goes off the rails. I'm having sneezing segments. I'm sneezing like 5 and 6 times per segment. I think I sneezed 8 times one time today. It was ridiculous. So much for that. The honey was good, though. That was delicious. I mean, at least I could, you don't have anything to lose. You get to eat honey every day. If anything, it's delicious. No worries. This allergy season, we'll all get through it. But I'll be a little nasally tonight. So the SEC got 5 teams in the NCAA tournament, and one is still in, and that's Kentucky. They're in the Sweet 16. Only one made it past the first round. Ole Miss made it past the play-in game, and they lost in the round of 64. And then Arkansas made it to the round of 32. They lost. Georgia didn't make it past the first round. LSU didn't make it past the first round. They had epic choke fashion against NC State. So there's one team left, and that's Kentucky. However, they're going to win it all. Just watching. They're going to beat West Virginia tonight. That game is a little later. Some people are predicting them to fall tonight, and it's hard to go undefeated. It really is hard. I mean, there's a lot of pressure that goes with that. I just think Kentucky's just flat better than everybody else. They are. You got a bunch of NBA guys, and they're freshmen. You got a couple sophomores and juniors, but otherwise, I mean, they're all freshmen. So, I mean, it's a one-and-done system, and it's working for Kentucky. It's working magic for Kentucky. And Kentucky, I'm telling you, Kentucky, teams like them and Duke, they're helping the sport. You need the big dogs. And Kentucky is making college basketball entertaining to watch. Because without them, I'm telling you, it's not entertaining to watch. 50-48 is not an entertaining matchup. All right, it's not easy on the eyes. A bunch of passing, 35-second shot clock. Goes up for a jumper, doinks off the rim. That's just, is that really fun? Is that what you want to watch? Basketball is not as good as it used to be on the college level. It's just not. And they're trying to change the game. They're trying to maybe go down to a shorter shot clock, maybe 30 seconds. The NIT experimented with that this year. But there are some bigger problems. First of all, nobody cares about basketball until the NCAA tournament. March Madness is when it all starts. You're talking about starting the season during football season. Everybody's still so high-strung over football at that point. Nobody cares about basketball. Nobody's caring about, who Alabama's playing from some other conference the next day. Nobody cares. It's irrelevant at that point. In the state of Alabama, we're talking about after the season, after football season ends, it's still hung over from the bowl season. So you really don't start getting interested in it until about halfway through SEC play. So, I mean, if Bama or Auburn is mediocre in basketball, people aren't crying. They'll find something to complain about. Yeah, fire Anthony Grant, get rid of him. He's awful. But at the end of the day, they're just waiting for spring football to come around. Most fans are more interested in spring football than they are in the next head basketball coach at Alabama. It's just the honest truth. All right, coming up next, we'll have Max Howell on the show. We'll be right back.
Are you tired of those dirty and stained carpets in your home or office but hate the high cost most cleaning companies charge? Then we have great news for you. GoPro Carpet Care is the most dependable and economical company you'll find in Alabama. The staff is friendly, professional, and always has the best price. Listen to this. Prices as low as $24.99 per room. Find us on Facebook or call us at 205-337-3590. That's GoPro Carpet Care, where Pro is our middle name.
Welcome back to the Sports Lounge with John McEachin. All right, we have the legendary Max Howell on with us. He is a former coach at Florida State and Ole Miss. Max, where do you think Alabama will go with their new basketball coaching hire?
Let me tell you about Alabama basketball. Since Whip Sanderson left there, basketball, I've watched Anthony Grant's program through the years while he was there, and particularly when I was in Birimingham. And certainly basketball in Alabama to a small group is important. But I'm telling you, everybody in this part of the country knows Alabama football is like Kentucky basketball. They'll follow that a while, and certainly love to see in January and February, they'd love to, the fan base would love to see Alabama do well, as most other schools in the Southeastern Conference. But it's not a mandatory, I've contended for years. As long as the football program's doing well, basketball can break even and everybody's happy. And I don't think that's far from wrong in Alabama, regardless of who the coach is.
So Bill Battles, he's not in any trouble, really, even if he flops on this hire.
You think about, why would Bill Battle want that job? Bill Battle sold his licensing company for $100 million. Why? And Bill's 70 years old, probably 72 maybe. Why give back to the university? I understand all the emotional things, but why would you want to go through? Sometimes fans are publicly critical, regardless of how successful you've been with your program. Fans are still fans, and if they don't fit Bill Battle, I don't think is in any trouble whatsoever. I think he took the job almost as hey, I'm going to give back to the university because what they did to me. But I'm going to tell you, Coach Bryant's the one that put Bill Battle in the coaching business and put him in the licensing business. And I think maybe he still feels that way now. To answer your question in all fairness, Bill can come and go at the University of Alabama, and neither one will miss a beat.
Well, let's talk about Mississippi State. They just hired Ben Howland, former UCLA basketball coach. And does this get them back in the game?
You know what? Once again, great players, is there enough great players in this part of the country to satisfy a kid wanting to go to Mississippi State to play basketball? And, Ole Miss has won, any kid at Ole Miss has won 20 games a year for. Is that a benchmark now? It used to be. The benchmark now is how far you get in the tournament. And you got to get in. And of course, Ben Allen got UCLA in, and I think it's his fourth head coaching job. He's had some good success, and I think he'll do okay at Mississippi State. But I'm telling you, I live in the state of Mississippi, and I'm telling you, 95% of the fan base want to see what the football program does. That's the reason. The last coach that they just cut loose, let me tell you how important he was. I don't even remember his name. he didn't have a winning record in 3 years. I understand. Scott Strickland's a good friend of mine. He's the athletic director. And I've watched him, and Scott's done a really good job there. And the football program with Dan Mullen is the number one in the country for 5 weeks last year. So, their football program is the thing that runs the machine at Mississippi State, as it is most other schools in this part of the country. And Ben will fit in there. But you know what? I mean, look around the league right now in the Southeastern Conference. Tell me, other than Calipari, who makes a difference with their basketball program? Billy Donovan has a couple of times won 2 national championships. I mean, Florida was supposed to be, right there running with Kentucky this year. Did they break even? I mean, they got all assets in the country for Billy to make put a good basketball program together and keep it there. But I point that out to say it's just not that important in the big scheme of things when you start hiring and firing basketball coaches. And that's just not my opinion. I'm a football guy, and everybody that listens knows that. But that's an observation, and the numbers will support that, I think, if you look at the Southeastern Conference.
Well, do you think a lot of that, obviously the history of football has always been more popular than basketball, but do you feel like college basketball is dipping right now because the quality of play is just down? It's not where it used to be. And is there a way to make the game better?
Well, the only thing everybody knows is that, they raised the age to 19, or 1 year after your graduating class before they can go to the NBA. The great ones are still going to go. Calipari is going to win a national championship with 4 or 5 freshmen that's going to be gone next year. His one and done philosophy has worked at Kentucky. Why won't it work other places? I've heard that same philosophy for years. That hey, all the great players leave. They go out of high school. This is before the rule changed, but now they're leaving after their freshman year. Well, I guess the next rule, of course, the rumor coming out of Birimingham in the SEC office. They're pushing to make freshmen ineligible. Well, what does that do for basketball as long as the NBA takes them after 1 year? I mean, does the quality drop back or takes another step back? I think it very well could. How do you judge? You help me on that. How do you judge it's better? It was better years ago than it is now.
Well, I mean, when you look at the play, and I wasn't around during the the Shaquille O'Neal days. I mean, I was really young at least. But when I compare it to the NBA, the gap's just huge.
But you can't compare it to the NBA. You can't compare Vanderbilt football to the New York Giants.
Good point. You
can't do that. You can't draw that comparison. You have to draw. You have to allow each one of those programs to be where they are. I'll say this: the public will guarantee you those programs that are good, their finances are supported, and the fans come out to see. The programs that are not, the people will not pay the money to go see it. That's the way you have to judge it right now.
Well, but couldn't you say, though, that the gap between college basketball and the NBA is a lot farther than the gap between the NFL and college football?
I never thought about that. I haven't. I don't want to ever hear that there's a college football team can beat an NFL team.
Well, I agree with you on that.
I'm just saying there's not. Anybody can forget that. And I know there's some avid fans out there that when Alabama was on a roll, they could have beaten, the Kansas City Chiefs. Not wrong. Obviously, they hadn't been to many NFL games, is all I say. But it's, and that may be a valid point about the gap in there. But my point is, I don't think that's a fair measuring stick. Because remember, those teams at the NFL and NBA are built on the best of the individual college players, not college teams, individual college players.
Well, let me ask you about your bracket right now. Is yours on life support like mine, or?
I got one left, Kentucky.
That's about mine. Actually, I think we had it died, and we've already had the funeral for my bracket. But all right. Well, let me ask you one more question. News has just come out, obviously, about Dan Jones, the Chancellor of Ole Miss, store that you own, and the IHL's decision. We've got two teams over here in the state of Alabama that people are just gung ho crazy about. Auburn and Alabama. Spring practice has started already. What are your early predictions, and who's going to be the top breadwinner this year?
Man, that's a great question. Of course, Alabama's looking at the 9 starters on the offensive side. I thought maybe last year when Lane Kiffin stepped in, I had doubts about him being able to turn the offense around, but he did and did a good job with that. And I think Coach Saban gave him the credit that it was due. I'll be interested now to see the Coker kid will come in probably as is a more experienced quarterback and go put. I mean, he may have taken 20 snaps the whole year. They didn't have anybody else that did. They've got to find, they've got to find some playmakers. Coach Saban made a wholesale change on the defensive side. He moved Kirby Smart out of the secondary, moved him back to linebackers. Kevin Steele goes to LSU. Lance Thompson goes to Auburn. They make several changes on the defensive side of the ball. So I think their talent level's there. But in the SEC, I'm telling you, it's all about experience, and Coach Saban knows that. And so I'm going to say, Alabama will be hard-pressed to win 10 or 11 games, I think. I think they've got a good chance, to win 8 or 9 every year just on pure talent. But there's going to be some good football teams in the SEC once again. You go over to Auburn, Gus Malzahn is, Jeremy Johnson might be as good as the number 2 quarterback as it was in the country, though he didn't get a chance to play very much. I'm going to be anxious to see how Coach Malzahn makes an adjustment with his,
do you think there's any hope that they change their mind?
Not a runner; he's a thrower.
Due to public pressure,
how does Auburn make that adjustment? They're going to have once again good running backs.
That would be the only thing that I could think of.
They signed the number 1 in high school.
If they do,
junior college running backs. Robinson kid was a kid that they signed out of Memphis 2 years ago, and if you recall, had some transcript problems. And he goes to junior college and sets the world on fire and comes back to Auburn. So they've got to
don't know much about him
as well. But if I had to guess right now, I think Auburn's got a chance to have as good a record on the field. I'm not saying what that'll be. I think they got as good a chance to have on the field though as Alabama's record. Now when they play, I believe they're playing Auburn this year.
They do.
I called that game 2 years ago for Yahoo Sports. The Alabama-Auburn game when they played. And that 1 second on the clock left was the biggest coaching mistake I've ever seen Alabama make, but they did, and it cost them the ball game. So Auburn has a way of finding a way to win when they play there. So I think that's going to be I think they'll come right down to one of the great games of the year.
All right, Max. Well, tell us about the furniture store you own in Tupelo, correct?
Well, I appreciate that. I got to just say this is my third career, and I tell everybody, I coached 30 years, and I did radio and TV for about 20, and I loved all of that. And then I started in Birmingham, buying and selling, doing estate sales, and ended up with 4 or 5 warehouses full of stuff. And I figured, let me open up a little retail store and see how it has gone extremely well. I'll tell you what, we opened up our retail store last Labor Day, this past year, and I'm in a 2,500 square foot building. I signed a contract yesterday to build a new 6,000 square foot building on the interstate. That's how well it's gone in less than a year. I'm tickled to death. I have a fun time. I'm only open 2 days a week. Of course, I get in the big building on the interstate. I'll be open every day, but it's a fun business. We travel all over the Southeast. I do estate sales. I buy and sell closeouts. I buy and sell, for businesses going out. I'll go in and take all their equipment. Same thing if a family's got a mom or a pop that's going to a nursing home, I'll go in and they want to sell all their personal belongings. I'll buy the whole house full out. And but it's really, really been a fun run for me, and I can't say how much I enjoy it. That's just it's beyond words for me right now.
Well, I have a lot of I have a lot more furniture than I do rooms. If you want to get some of mine, you're more than welcome.
You need to let me come to you. Where it's in your house or storage, you need to come let me see it. And let me make a deal with you.
I don't know how much it's worth, but you're more than welcome to it. Thank you very much, Max. Max Howell, the legendary Max Howell. He is former radio host in Birmingham, former coach at Ole Miss, and Florida State. Thank you very much, Max. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Always my pleasure.
It's the Sports Lounge.
Are you tired of those dirty and stained carpets in your home or office but hate the high cost most cleaning companies charge? Then we have great news for you. GoPro Carpet Care is the most dependable and economical company you'll find in Alabama. The staff is friendly, professional, and always has the best price. Listen to this. Prices as low as $24.99 per room. Find us on Facebook or call us at 205-337-3590. That's Go Pro Carpet Care, where pro is our middle name.
Welcome back to the Sports Lounge, and we just had Max Howell on the show, and we talked a lot about college basketball. And, he has a real wealth of knowledge, so it's always great to have him on the show. And he's very well respected in Birmingham. And so always glad to get him on. And we talked about the product that's on the court right now in the game of college. And, in my opinion, it's not as good. It's just not as good as it used to be. And the thing is that you have so many one-and-dones. Now, freshman year, they're good enough, they're gone. It's not like it used to be where you had guys playing 3 and 4 years. And people blame Kentucky for that. And it's not Kentucky's fault that these players are doing it. Kentucky's just taking advantage of it. They're just using it to their advantage. They're saying, look, we know you're going to go after 1 year, but we'll take you anyway. And we'll build up a system of great players that we're just going to start over after every year. No problem with that. It's not Kentucky that's causing the one and dones. They're just taking advantage of it. I would too. John Calipari's brilliant. So, but the fact of the matter is the product is not as good on the court as it used to be because of the one and dones. You saw the documentary 30 for 30, I Hate Christian Laettner. Christian Laettner played for Duke, if you don't remember, in the early 90s. And he was great. If he was playing in 2015, he'd have been gone after his freshman year. But he was so great for the sport of college basketball because he stayed around 3 and 4 years. He stayed around for 4 years. He was there all 4 years. And people grew to hate him, and he was the villain. And look, villains are so important in sports. You got to have villains. And a team like Kentucky, a team like Duke, you either love them because they're good or you hate them because they're good. But the fact of the matter is you're watching it, so it doesn't matter. The ratings are up. If Creighton and Butler play each other in the NCAA finals, oh my gosh, who's going to watch that? We're hoping for Kentucky and Duke or Kentucky and Wisconsin. That's what we want. Because they're two great powerhouses, traditional powerhouses going at it. We all know who they are, and a lot of us hate them. So, Kentucky, they're taking advantage of the one and dones. They're utilizing it. They're making the best of the situation. The one and dones have killed college basketball. The quality, players are doinking shots. The coaches control it. It's all controlled play. Who wants to watch that? So, the NBA is a far superior product. It's more interesting to watch. Look, there's a lot of people who love college football more than they do the NFL. I'm one of them, okay? Especially here in the South. In this state of Alabama, most people will tell you they like college football way more than the NFL. Some don't even like the NFL at all. That doesn't mean that the players are better. It just means that it's more fun to watch. And the talent disparity is not nearly as wide. Now, obviously, the Alabama's not going to beat the Cleveland, the Cleveland Browns aren't as bad anymore. But they're not going to beat your worst team in the NFL, your Tampa Bay Buccaneers or the Tennessee Titans. But there's definitely, these players go straight from from college football to pro, and a lot of rookies are playing already. So in college basketball, you just don't see a lot of that anymore. Anyway, the NBA playoffs, speaking of the NBA, they're coming up soon. And I'll say, I used to not like the NBA at all. Once I started keeping up with the Grizzlies in Memphis, I've become a big NBA fan. And I'll just tell you, I think Cleveland's going to win the East. Atlanta Hawks, they're good. They're going to be the 1 seed, but they don't have the same stars to get past LeBron. I think Atlanta, they'll beat Boston or Charlotte. Beat the Celtics. The Celtics aren't very good, although they're playing a lot better than they were. Now, this will be interesting. LeBron plays, he could very well end up playing the Miami Heat. Now, how interesting will that be? LeBron leaves the Heat so he can go home to Cleveland. You got the big SOP story there. That would be really interesting to see him go against his old team that he brought 2 championships to, and he was in the finals 4 times. All 4 of his years there in Miami. Yeah, he was in the finals. 1/2 of them. When you go to the West is ridiculous. The West is so competitive. I think Golden State, I'm hoping for my Memphis Grizzlies to be able to make it to the finals. And then I'm praying that Atlanta wins the East so we don't have to play LeBron. See what LeBron did to the Grizzlies last night? LeBron and company just torched them. Beat them by 22 points at Memphis. Wasn't even a game. But I think Golden State is the best team in the West. They have Steph Curry, and he's unreal. Russell Westbrook for Oklahoma City, he's great, but he's not going to get OKC to the finals. There's just no way, and they're probably going to end up being a 7 or 8 seed. By the way, look out for San Antonio. They're coming. Look out for the Spurs. They just kind of always creep up on you, and they start playing well when you don't expect them to. You think they're out, and then they come back, and they're just a dominant team. They're getting older and older, but, I wouldn't be surprised to see them make a playoff run. I'm going to pick the Cleveland Cavaliers to win it all. LeBron and company, they're 27-8 since he came back from his injury. And like I said, they just destroyed Memphis last night. Memphis is going to be a 2 seed in the West. So we'll see. The only thing is, they're so as good as the Cavs are, they're so dysfunctional. David Blatt, they can't get along with LeBron. Kevin Love and LeBron, they don't get along. They don't quite get along very well, and they're fine. I mean, they're not closest of friends, but there's a little bit of dysfunction in there, and I mean, they were awful when the season started. They could not mesh. They could not get any chemistry going. But at the end of the day, I still think they've got it together enough, and they're talented enough to get the NBA championship. Coming up next, we'll talk about Alabama's head coaching search for their basketball program, and we'll also talk about how out of control the NCAA Infractions Committee is. It's a joke. It's awful. Anyway, it's the Sports Lounge. We'll be right back.
Are you tired of those dirty and stained carpets in your home or office but hate the high cost most cleaning companies charge? Then we have great news for you. Go Pro Carpet Care is the most dependable and economical company you'll find in Alabama. The staff is friendly, professional, and always has the best price. Listen to this. Prices as low as $24.99 per room. Find us on Facebook or call us at 205-337-3590. That's Go Pro Carpet Care, where Pro is our middle name.
Welcome back to the Sports Lounge with John McEachin. Alabama is still in search for a head coach. And the fact of the matter is, Anthony Grant couldn't beat the big teams. He didn't have a lot of talent. And then Bruce Pearl comes into Auburn and he forces it to become competitive. I mean, he had to make a move. And I'm telling you one thing right now, Bruce Pearl is going to have some NCAA teams. The NIT doesn't cut it. Nobody cares about the NIT. That's not going to put fans in the stands. I mean, again, look, are you really worried about making a lot of money off basketball? No, because your football program's making a ton of money now. But, you do have some of your Alabama fans who do want to win in basketball as well. And now the big candidate for Alabama is Greg Marshall from Wichita State. And Wichita State's out of the tournament. They lost to Notre Dame tonight, so the Cinderella story is done. They're up. Alabama really would like to pay Marshall a lot of money. $3 to $4 million is what the word is on the street right now. Marshall right now, he's making $1.75 million. So can Wichita State match $3 to $4 million? They probably can. They're not paying their football coach a lot. I don't think they have a football team. So does he want to come to Alabama? I don't know. Will he be okay with being under Nick Saban's shadow? I don't know. Will he make the move from Kansas to Tuscaloosa? I don't know. But the fact is, if they can land him, that would be a huge hire. That would be a home run hire for the Crimson Tide. And they can compete with Bruce Pearl. And Bill Battle, he needs to make a good hire. He does. And he's not going to lose his job if he doesn't. As long as football's okay, then, we're all good. But it would help his legacy, because he did miss out on Bruce Pearl last year. Decided to keep the coach that he fired the very next year, and the fan base wanted to get rid of him. Get rid of Anthony Grant, that is. They wanted him gone. Bill Battle didn't do it. So, I think he needs to make a good hire. But again, as long as he's making Nick Saban happy, it's kumbaya. We're good. So, let's get to the NCAA now, because this is a clown fest over there. It really is it's one big joke. And USC is the latest victim. If you remember, USC got put on major probation, lost tons of scholarships, lost 2 years of bowl eligibility. And what it came down to, it was the whole Reggie Bush case. And then you had Todd McNair involved, the former running back coach. But now 500 pages of unreleased documents have been released, or unsealed documents have been released. And 2 of those emails are committee members of the infraction committee saying, hey, we don't think we have any evidence on this guy. We don't have any evidence on McNair. And they dropped the hammer anyway. The NCAA has proven time and time again that they are a corrupt organization, especially when it comes to the infractions committee. It's a joke. I mean, look. You had the Penn State case. The NCAA had no business being in the Penn State case. Jerry Sandusky, that was up to the federal government to deal with that. But the NCAA, they want to show their muscle. Hey, we got power. You don't get anything past us. Yeah, that was corrupt. And then you had a really, the Miami case with Nevin Shapiro. Nevin Shapiro was paying off players left and right, and it was obvious to everybody. Miami was going to get the death penalty, or close to it. They were maybe not the death penalty. They might as well have gotten the death penalty. That's where they were headed. Lack of institutional control. But then it comes out that the NCAA, they got shady business going on in the investigation. Lack of institutional control. And so it turns out that Miami gets a slap on the wrist, more like a tap on the shoulder. It was a joke. It wasn't even a punishment. lost maybe a few scholarships, nothing more than that. Because it was so poorly handled. And it got out. All these recent big cases, they've all been corrupt. And so it kind of makes you think, well, now, all the Power 5 conferences are already kind of wanting to break off anyway. So does this give them more leverage to say, hey, you know what, let's start Division 4. Let's just get out of the NCAA because they can't run themselves. And look, you got to have, when you have 2 committee members on the infractions committee say, hey, we don't have any evidence, and then they still come down with the hammer. I mean, they set USC way back. They're just now recovering. And that's because they're, a power school. They're a power football school. But, I mean, really, something's got to give. And the NCAA, Mark Emmert, a lot of this has happened under his watch. So, you had the Miami case, you had the Penn State case, and now you have the USC case. And you tell me, where does Todd McNair go to get his reputation back? I mean, it's been very much damaged. You can't go buy that back at a Walmart. I mean, really. So much damage has been done. You damaged the football program. You damaged, and let's look. Okay. I mean, is USC innocent? Probably not. They're no more guilty than most of your Power 5 programs out there anyway. So you got to have hardcore evidence to convict a football program or any sports program for that matter. You have to have it. Because otherwise you could just go out and you could throw everybody under. Because everybody's guilty. And look, I'm not saying the schools themselves are, but you got the zealot alumni who they're just, look, they're going to pay players. They're going to do it. You can't stop them. So when you put a team on probation, you've got to have hardcore evidence to put them under. Otherwise, you're just as corrupt as the institution you're punishing. We'll be right back. It's the Sports Lounge.
Are you tired of those dirty and stained carpets in your home or office but hate the high cost most cleaning companies charge? Then we have great news for you. GoPro Carpet Care is the most dependable and economical company you'll find in Alabama. The staff is friendly, professional, and always has the best price. Listen to this. Prices as low as $24.99 per room. Find us on Facebook or call us at 205-337-3590. That's GoPro Carpet Care, where Pro is our middle name.
Welcome back to the Sports Lounge with John McEachin. So, someone did make a change over the weekend. Mississippi State fired Rick Ray. He had 3 losing seasons at Mississippi State. He wasn't there very long. The fan interest was way down. And look, Mississippi State's not a bad basketball program overall in the past 20 years. Rick Stansbury was pretty successful there. He had a few NCAA tournament appearances. I think they got to a Final Four. So it's not like they can't win. It's not like you can't win there. Rick Ray is a nice guy. I met him one time. He's really friendly to me. But he wasn't getting the job done. I don't blame him for making the change. So Ben Howland is in at Mississippi State University. He is the former coach at UCLA. He got fired from UCLA in 2013 for going 25-10. But from 05 to 07, he had 3 Final Four appearances in a row. And one of those times he went to the finals, went to the championship game, lost there. But pretty impressive resume overall. He was a little inconsistent. this is not a John Calipari hire, but he definitely, I believe, can win at Mississippi State. There's no doubt in my mind. Again, I've seen Mississippi State they've had success at that program. They fired Rick Stansbury. They probably shouldn't have done that. But again, they took a nice 3-year dip. But I think they're going to be back in contention to be in the NCAA tournament year in and year out. Maybe not every year. But this is a team that they won't be as good as Kentucky, no. But they'll be up there. They'll be up there in the top of the SEC. And so they'll be contending for sure. And if you're a Mississippi State fan, that's all you want. You're not looking to get to the national championship. You're not. You just want to be in the tournament. You want to be competitive. And what you've had over the last 3 years has not been competitive. So, that's all you can ask for. Great hire by Mississippi State. I mean, look, UCLA fired the guy for going 25-10 and losing in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Now, UCLA, it's not a very hard program to win at. They have a lot of tradition there, and it's easy to recruit players to go there. But again, 3 Final Fours, 1 NCAA championship appearance, national championship appearance. Hey, I'll take that guy. So Kentucky right now is doing exactly what most of us expected them to do. They're beating West Virginia 66-30 with about 7.5 minutes to go in the game. Arizona and Xavier, on the other hand, are tied at 35 with 16.5 minutes to go. Again, Notre Dame beat Wichita State tonight. Wisconsin beat UNC. And that's the first half of the Sweet 16 right there. And we'll have more tomorrow. So anyway, I went to see The Hobbit at the Dollar Theater this week. First time I've seen it. And that's the thing. For any movie that I'm just not super psyched to see, I'm just going to wait till it comes out in the Dollar Theater. There's no sense in spending $11 on a movie that you're not really even that excited to see. So, I mean, if it's Star Wars, I'm going to go see it. If it's Batman, I'm going to go see it. But otherwise, I'm going to wait till it comes out in the Dollar Theater. It's a great deal. And The Hobbit, it was okay. I mean, I don't know why they had to stretch the movies out into 3. There's no reason to stretch one book out into 3 movies, but I guess, it was fine. I mean, the special effects are always good. But, at the same time, way too much fighting going on. Way too many fights. I'm not a big fan of fight scenes. If I want to go see a fight scene, I'll go watch Rambo. But other than that, I'm not really into that. It's stab, lop off a head, stab, shove into a rock, and somehow they die. Stab. It's just not my thing. And I did see Rambo. It was awful. It really was. I mean, no plot whatsoever. But anyway, the Dollar Theater is a wonderful commodity for everybody. I'm not gonna go see every movie when it comes out. It's not within my budget. So I love going to see movies. I think it's good. But, I'm gonna save 90%. Literally. Well, that's all the time we have. It's been a lot of fun. I want to thank Max Howell for coming on the show. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you next week. It's the Sports Lounge with John McEachin.